Hey, what is going on, guys? XpertFusion here, and today we are going to be doing The Walking Dead Telltale TV Adaptation, Season 2, Episode 4, which is titled Frozen. So, this episode, like I said, was going to revolve around Kenny and what exactly happened. Obviously, the last episode left off with Omid seeing Kenny at the door of the cabin within the 400 Days group at that house, and he was surprised to see him, obviously, because he thought he was dead. So this episode starts off with Kenny being shown in the winter while it is snowing outside. He is on a porch of a house and he's looking off into the distance. This is going to come into importance later. Then day 98 shows up on the screen. It is the end of November 2010. Kenny is in the alleyway in Season 1 after shooting Ben in the head. He thinks about his family and Lee and Clem while he's ready to let the walkers eat him alive. They're just all coming down both sides of the alley, and Lee was around the corner. He couldn't see it, but he was around the corner, and Kenny snaps out of it out of nowhere. He just realizes he's not going to let this happen to himself. He changes his mind quickly, grabs a large piece of cardboard from the floor, and uses it as a shield against the walkers. He pushes the walkers away and makes it out of the alleyway and onto the street. He continues running as walkers try to grab him. He gets inside of one of the apartment buildings and is stuck from the herd outside. A day or two goes by, and Kenny ends up walking through the streets trying to look around. The streets have cleared up a bit. There's not as many walkers. He ends up making it to the Marsh house as some music plays over, some sort of montage music. He makes it to the Marsh house and finds Lee's body, which is kind of rotting a little bit. It's got some flies on it, and he sees a gunshot wound in its head, or in his head. He takes off the cuffs and buries Lee in the grass aside the bridge leading out of Savannah. A walker approaches them as Kenny takes the shovel and smacks the walker in the face. Kenny heads on his journey out of Savannah and moves on through the streets. A montage is shown of Kenny moving through streets, woods, and plains for a few months. Then day 175 shows up. He eventually reaches a nice house on a hilltop near the ocean. He goes inside and slowly checks around the house with a hatchet. He makes his way through the kitchen and the living room, and it seems very well stocked and clean. He's suddenly attacked by a woman. This woman's name is Sarita. She's a Hispanic woman, not too old, in her mid-40s maybe. She hits Kenny in the head with a frying pan. Kenny tries to get her to calm down as she uses pepper spray on him. Kenny freaks out and is screaming and freaking out, and Sarita realizes he ain't really a threat, as Kenny even drops his rifle and his weapon that he had on him, his hatchet. Sarita gets a bottle of water and uses it to bathe out Kenny's eyes. It cuts to Sarita using a wet cloth on Kenny's head as he lies on her couch. She says she's very sorry, but he should probably just knock next time. Kenny says it's fine. He just had no idea anyone was here and didn't expect to be attacked like that. Sarita says she's been alone for a while, so new people just freaks her out, She says it even feels weird to talk right now. She hasn't heard her voice in a long time. Kenny says he has his fair share of talking to himself moments, so he doesn't really have to worry about not talking for a while. Sarita smiles. She asks if he wants some fish stew, because she's got a whole ocean of fish, so she's basically eating it all the time. Kenny enjoys a nice meal with Sarita, and she asks if she was with anyone before he was alone. Kenny thinks she's talking about like a love interest, but he realizes she was just referring to being with anyone, like any group. Kenny says he was with a group in the city of Savannah, but things went to shit. He says some of them are likely still out there, but he's got no way of knowing how to find them. Sarita asks about family. Kenny says he had a wife and son, and he kind of freezes up and doesn't say a word after that. She says it's okay if he doesn't want to talk about it. Sarita says her husband died pretty early on in the apocalypse. They were at a hospital because her brother was injured in a car accident, and things just kind of went a little crazy. People were screaming and running, even the doctors dipped. Then the dead was coming down the hallway. Her husband thought the person needed help, but they were already turned, and they just jumped on him, and that was it. Sarita asks Kenny if he's headed anywhere in particular, and Kenny says he actually isn't. Sarita says if he wants to stay here for a little while, or however long he wants, he's welcome to. A montage then plays of a bit of a time skip, and we get to see like a little montage between that time skip of just happy music. Kenny's doing tasks and activities with Sarita, just having a good time. Over many months, all sorts of different weather is happening. challenges, like trees falling down in front of the house happen. They are building a fence, they go fishing, they're painting in the house, moving furniture, even shooting practice on the beach using targets. And then it ends with them watching a movie on a DVD player. During this moment, Sarita tries to hold Kenny's hand during the movie. It's been a long time, so they're kind of getting close to each other. And she ends up going in for a kiss. Kenny ends up kissing her, but he ends up backing off. He says this doesn't feel right. He looks at his ring in his hand. Sarita says don't worry about it. She shouldn't have kissed him in the first place. She apologizes. A couple more months go by. Kenny and Sarita continue doing fun tasks and having a good time without much conflict. Then day 287, which is in June 2011, shows up. Kenny and Sarita have a night with wine and some really nice salmon. Kenny and Sarita end up making out on the couch after Kenny says he cares a lot about her. Their kissing is broken up by hearing something from outside. It's a large herd of walkers right outside their house. Kenny runs to the truck and tells Sarita they have to get the fuck out of here. Sarita says she isn't leaving her home, but Kenny says they can come back, but right now they have to go. Sarita runs to it. Kenny has his hatchet and his knife. Kenny drives off with the truck, but the herd surrounds them at all angles. The truck can't even get through the herd. Kenny is forced to go in reverse as they reach the cliffside of the house, because it's by the ocean. It's on like a cliff, hanging off the ocean, and you can go around the side and the little beaches down there, but the cliff itself is still there. Kenny's forced to get out and fight alongside Sarita. Kenny uses his hatchet and slices through them as Sarita gets lost through the herd. Kenny gets through some of them as Sarita is cornered to the edge of the cliff. Kenny sees her fighting them as she falls off the edge of the cliff, which, may I add, the cliff is a pretty goddamn far drop into the ocean. Kenny runs through the herd, killing as many as possible. He reaches the cliffside, but he doesn't see her. Kenny's forced to run and hide in a shed. The next morning, he gets out, and the herd is gone, except for a few extra stragglers. He kills them, and then he goes down the side of the mountain to the ocean. He looks for Sarita for hours and days in the ocean. He swims around. He looks on the beach. He looks everywhere, and he doesn't find her. A few months go by at the house. Kenny doesn't leave until it hits day 550, which is February 2012, so almost a full year went by. Kenny's got a full beard at this point, and it is getting cold outside. Kenny heads out with a bag of supplies, a rifle, and his hatchet. He leaves a note on the kitchen counter that says he's been waiting for months and that he's headed north. He says he loves her in the note. Kenny travels for days and even a week or two, and then day 573, March 2012 hits, and then we see him walking down the street and reaches a house on the porch, same as the beginning of the episode. It is snowing outside. Kenny finds a house that looks well intact, so he goes inside. He rests on the couch while suddenly being attacked by a walker from behind the couch. Kenny flips over the coffee table, grabs his hatchet, and hacks the walker in the face. Kenny rests for a bit and heads out later on. He sees someone at a distance and yells out. The man yells back and says he's no trouble and he hopes he ain't either. This man's name is Aaron. They get closer. Kenny says if he tries anything, he'll kill him. Aaron says, same for you. He introduces himself and asks Kenny where he's headed. Kenny says nowhere really. Aaron says, yeah, neither is he. They see walkers in the distance, and as Kenny asks if he wants to head back inside and talk. They go back inside the same house Kenny was just in. Kenny takes out a can of beans and cooks it under the stove after lighting it with a match underneath. Kenny asks if he's hungry. Aaron says he's always hungry. Kenny asks him when the last time he's been with people was. Aaron says he's come across people here and there, but the last group he was with was about 2 years ago, actually. Kenny says aside from a woman he was with, last group he was a part of was probably 2 years ago as well. Aaron says there ain't too many people left anymore. Aaron says his group, the one he was in, was kind of rough, though. His brother was in it and everything, but they had an altercation with another group, and their whole group basically died except for him. He got away. Kenny says most of his group members died as well. Some of them are still out there, though. They were in Savannah last time, and Aaron says, really? He says his group was right outside of Savannah, a couple towns west of it. The group they fought was actually right near it as well. Kenny and Aaron give each other a deep look for a few seconds after saying this. Kenny then gets a good look at Aaron, and he realizes that Aaron was one of the bandits. Remember back to episode 10 of season 1, one of the bandits got away? Remember that guy? Didn't find him until now. The one who escaped at the baseball field battle in episode 10 of season 1, and Aaron realized that Kenny was the one who killed his brother. Aaron's brother was Gary, the leader of the bandits. Aaron says under his breath, "You killed my brother." Kenny and Aaron both look at the knife on the table. Out of nowhere, they both jump for it and get into a large scuffle in the kitchen of the house. They struggle around and roll across the floor with both their hands on the knife. Kenny kicks Aaron in the stomach and runs for his rifle and grabs it. He aims it right at Aaron. Kenny hesitates as Aaron kicks his feet down and makes a run for it. The walkers that were outside come for the front yard of the house as their fight goes crashing through the front window. Kenny and Aaron are forced to use their bare hands to kill 5 walkers. Kenny grabs a tree branch, and so does Aaron. They almost kind of have a sword fight with the branches for a second. As Kenny tackles Aaron and starts choking him, Aaron knees Kenny in the balls and pushes him off. Aaron tries to catch his breath as Kenny sits there in pain. Kenny tries to grab him as he runs for the backyard deck. Walkers are in the backyard. They came from around the corner. Kenny knocks Aaron off the deck of the backyard deck, and he is now holding over walkers. But Aaron grabs onto Kenny's wrist, and Kenny is basically holding Aaron over these walkers. Aaron begs Kenny to stop this. He says he's sorry, but he didn't kill his wife. He was just there. He didn't kill anyone in their group. He says he'll forgive him for what he did to his brother because, to be honest, he probably would have done the same. Kenny freezes for a second, but he thinks about Sarita, and he decides to raise Aaron back up onto the deck. Aaron says it's probably just best if he just leaves. Kenny says no, he wants the company. Kenny says he's sorry, and Aaron smiles. So yeah, crazy shit there. Then day 690 shows up in July 2012. They are on the road as Kenny is holding a cassette tape entitled Wellington. So we can assume that they found one of these little posts that have one of these cassette tapes. So that's assumably where they are headed for the past few months. Kenny and Aaron suddenly hear screaming at a gas station. They go running around the corner and find Wyatt and Eddie fighting off some walkers. The two go to help out as Kenny uses his machete and Aaron uses an axe. Kenny has a bolt-action rifle and Aaron has a Glock as well. Kenny thanks them for the help as he stabs one from the ground real quick with a spear. They all introduce each other as Wyatt asks him where they are headed, and Kenny shows him the Wellington cassette tape. Wyatt is quite surprised by it. So then day 826 shows up, which is now back to present day in November. The group is all surrounded upon the living room as they discuss everything. Tavia and Wyatt are in the other room fighting about this whole situation. Tavia is pissed at Wyatt for moving on that damn quickly from their relationship, and Wyatt says he just wanted to forget about the thought of you being dead in the first place. Everyone else is chatting as Omid talks to Kenny about how the hell he managed to survive that alleyway. Omid also tells Kenny about everything that happened with Clem and Krista in the hospital. Omid says he's going to Wellington to find her. Kenny tells him he should probably hold off on that. Omid questions as to why. Kenny says the reason he stopped heading for Wellington and stayed here instead is because of what they were told. So then we go back to a flashback to day 750. It's about late August. Kenny and the others are actually headed on the road in vehicles to Wellington. All of them, even including the 4 days characters, they were all headed towards Wellington. But they come across a sign. But this time it isn't like the other ones. Instead it reads, "Do not go to Wellington." There's another cassette tape. It plays this. It says, "This is an update on our community. For those of you looking for safety, I'm sorry. We will try to update as many of these signs as possible, but we are no longer accepting any new people. We are at full capacity and just don't have enough supplies and food to go around. We are sorry." Back to present. Omid is pissed off at hearing this. He asks Kenny if he's sure it's real, and Kenny says they don't know if it's worth to go to find out. If they go all that way just to be told they can't join, that would be awful. They might as well stay here. It's a safe place. Omid says he still wants to go because Krista and Clem could have made it there. They could be in that area because you know damn well they head there. But Kenny says, well, what if they found one of those updated signs? Then they would know not to go there and they would stay back. Omid says he needs to know. Kenny says he understands, but this place is the safest they'll get. Kenny tells Omid about the girl he met, Sarita. He says he's accepted that he may never see her again if she's alive. Omid gets pissed at Kenny and says he will find her. He will. He says he's going to leave tomorrow. Kenny tells him to just wait. He says that he'll come with him if he just waits and rests a few days. He doesn't want to go rushing out the house right now. Omid says fine. Wyatt rushes out of the house after talking to Tavia as Bonnie goes outside to comfort Wyatt. And she asks Wyatt what they were talking about, and Wyatt says nothing. A pan-out shot is shown of the house, the cabin that they're at, as they sit on the porch together. And boom, that is the end of the episode. Really enjoyed going back to Kenny and seeing what was going on with him. I really wanted to kind of give him this relationship story with Sarita because personally I felt like the Kenny and Sarita relationship was kind of rushed in season 2 of the game, so I wanted to kind of give it a backstory a little bit so we're not just thrown into this relationship. I want to kind of give it some purpose because it'll be important later on, of course. So next episode, of tease for next episode, it goes back to Clementine and the others at, Luke, Pete, and all those characters at that house in the woods. So we're going to see what's going on with her. Obviously, right now at the point, she is stuck in the bar, or she just got out of the shed, and she's now headed to the house to go see if she can get her stuff to bandage up her arm. So that's going to take care of episode 5. This episode, though, done. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.